Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about North America in spatial terms. It's the second lesson in our second unit. Many of the objectives are going to be the same. You'll see a pattern throughout the following physical geography lessons in this unit. We're going to be using maps and globes to analyze and interpret the geography of North America. We'll locate the major countries, landforms, and water systems. We're going to find and describe the principal mountain chains and plains areas in North America, and we'll find and describe peninsulas and islands in North America. There are 4 vocabulary words for this lesson, the first being drainage basin. A drainage basin is all the land drained by a river and the streams that flow into that river. A peninsula is a landmass surrounded by water on 3 sides. An archipelago is a group of islands clustered together in a large body of water. And then mainland is the principal landmass of a continent or country, and it excludes islands and peninsulas. The countries of North America include the United States, Canada, Mexico, and Greenland. We've talked about how the physical geography of a place affects the humans living in it, and that's no exception for North America. The physical geography of North America plays an important role in determining where its people live and the types of activities they engage in. Knowing the physical features of a continent will help you understand its history. These physical features will even factor into how the countries of North America interact with each other and with other nations around the world. We're going to discuss now the water systems of North America. To the north, at the very top here, you're going to see the Arctic Ocean. To the east are Baffin Bay, the Labrador Sea, and of course the Atlantic Ocean. To the south is the Gulf of Mexico, and the Pacific Ocean forms the western shore. So the Pacific Ocean is over here on the west side of the United States and North America. To the northwest, if we're making a circle going clockwise, we have the Bering Strait, which separates, that's right here, it separates North America from Asia. Next we have Greenland. It's this large kind of mountainous country up here. It is an island, and it is the largest island that's not considered a continent in the world. Next up, we have the Hudson Bay. The Hudson Bay is located in Canada, and the Hudson River does flow into areas like New York State. Around the Hudson Bay, you have something called the Canadian Shield. The Canadian Shield is the origin of the North American continent. Excuse me. It includes much of Greenland, more than half of Canada, and it extends into the Adirondack Mountains of New York and the Midwest. It's made up of extremely old rock, over 4 billion years old, and is covered by a thin layer of soil, making it difficult for people to live here and also difficult for agriculture. There are many important river systems in North America. Our text wants us to highlight 3 in particular. They are the Mississippi River, which is the deepest river in the United States, the Missouri River, which is the longest river in the United States at 2,540 miles long, and then also the Yukon River up in Alaska. The Yukon River has been famous since the gold rush days in Alaska. Another important part of the North American water systems are the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes act as a border between Canada and the United States, as you can see here in this picture, and they are Lake Superior, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, and Lake Erie. All of these lakes are connected. Most have coasts both in the United States and Canada, with the exception of Lake Michigan. and they all empty out eventually from the St. Lawrence River into the Gulf of St. Lawrence in Canada. Next, we have the landforms of North America. We're going to discuss the mountains and the plains regions. Notice that the continent of North America has a set of mountain ranges to the west. You can tell that by the brown color of this relief map. And then also there's another set of mountains in the east. And in the middle, there's a large plain area in the center of all of North America. That mountain range to the west is known as the Cordillera Mountains. The Cordillera Mountains run along the western portion of North America, and they begin in Alaska up here and run southward into South America. This mountain range has several different ranges that lie within it, including the well-known Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains are probably the best known range within the American Cordillera. These mountains arise from the Great Plains as you travel westward. The Rocky Mountains also contain the Great Continental Divide. The Continental Divide can be seen here in this map. It is the red line that kind of goes all the way from Alaska all the way into South America. What this does is it separates to the two main drainage systems of the United States. From this line, rivers will either flow east or west. It stretches through 5 western states from Canada to Mexico. The area of the Continental Divide is one of the few true wildernesses left in America, and it has been preserved. It's important to note that the highest point in North America and within the Cordillera Range is Mount McKinley in Alaska. It stands over 20,000 feet high. Heading south from Alaska into Mexico, we're still talking about the Cordillera Mountains, but this time the mountain ranges have changed. They're no longer the Rocky Mountains, but they are the Sierra Madre Mountains. There's mountains on the west of Mexico and mountains on the east. And then in the center you have a plains area, which is where most of the people in the country of Mexico live. The Appalachian Mountains are the mountains that we saw that were all the way in the east. They run along the eastern edge of North America. The Appalachians run south of the St. Lawrence River. The Appalachians are made up of the White, Green, Blue Ridge, and Great Smoky Mountains. You might have heard of the Blue Ridge Mountains. In Florida, we are lucky enough to have, in Georgia, we're lucky enough to have a part of the Appalachian Trail, and we are in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in North Georgia. Some of you maybe have visited Amicalola Falls or Blood Mountain, which is a part of the beginning of the Appalachian Mountain Range. Historically, it's important to note that the Appalachian Mountain Range kept most European colonists close to the Atlantic coast until after the Revolutionary War. Because of their difficult terrain, many people did not want to cross over the Appalachian Mountains. So to the south of the St. Lawrence River, we have the Appalachian Mountains, and to the north of the St. Lawrence River, we have the Laurentian Mountains in Canada. The Laurentian Mountains are a part of the Canadian Eastern Highlands. This area, with its great forests, many lakes, and rivers, is economically important for lumber, paper milling, mining, hydroelectric power, and tourism. We talked about the Canadian Shield. The Canadian Shield is also called the Laurentian Plateau. It was created by glaciers that dug out the same glaciers that dug out the Great Lakes. This plateau of rock runs across northern Canada, around Hudson Bay, and as far south as the Great Lakes. It has many rivers that can be used for hydroelectric power, but its soil, again, is not good because it's very thin and it's not good for crops. However, it is rich in mineral resources in this area. We're going to talk now about another landform of the North America region, and we're talking about the North American plains. In geography, a plain is a flat, sweeping landmass that generally does not change much in elevation. Plains occur as lowlands along the bottoms of valleys or on the doorsteps of mountains as coastal plains and as plateaus or uplands. In North America, we have three areas of plains. We have the Great Plains, the Central Lowlands, and the Coastal Plains. You can see the Great Plains, the Central Lowlands, and the Coastal Plains area on this map. It's important to note that the coastal plains are on the east of the Appalachian Mountains and in through the Gulf. And then we have the Great Plains and the Central Lowlands in between the Appalachian Mountains and the Cordillera Range, which is shown here as the Rocky Mountain system. As we saw on the previous map, the Great Plains run from central Canada to Texas, and its grassland of rich soil gets drier the further west it goes. The Central Lowlands, also known as the Midwest, are located between the Appalachian Mountains and the Great Plains. The coastal plains are those plains located to the east of the Appalachian Mountains, and they run along the eastern edge of North America, along the Atlantic coast. These plains provide good farmland and rivers for transportation. For these reasons, the area was quickly settled by the Europeans who came to the New World. It's important to note that here in the coastal plains, the 13 original colonies formed, and that's how the United States was essentially formed, is in this coastal plains area. Next, we'll discuss the peninsulas of North America. There are three, and they're pictured here. The first being Baja, California. It's the name of the Mexican peninsula that extends south of the state of California. It's a long, narrow, mountainous finger of land between the Gulf of California, also known as the Sea of Cortez, which would be right in here, and the Pacific Ocean. Again, a peninsula is a piece of land that is surrounded by water on three sides. Next up, we have the state of Florida. The state of Florida is a peninsula. The Gulf of Mexico is to the west, and the Atlantic Ocean is to the east. The third peninsula we have is... the third peninsula of North America is the Yucatan Peninsula. The Yucatan Peninsula is on the southeast side of Mexico on the Gulf of Mexico. It divides the Gulf of Mexico from the Caribbean Sea. It was the home of ancient indigenous civilizations called the Maya, and today the ruins of their cities are a tourist attraction for the Yucatan Peninsula. Last, we're going to discuss the islands of North America. Islands are areas of land that are completely surrounded by water. In North America, you can find a wide variety of them. Look at a map like this, and you see how many islands there are in North America. They're all over, as you can tell, and we're going to discuss a few in detail. The Aleutian Islands are an extension of Alaska. They are an archipelago, so it's a chain of islands that stretch from Alaska toward Asia. This chain of islands is the physical barrier that separates the Bering Sea from the Pacific Ocean. The Aleutian Islands gets its name from the Aleuts, the group of Native Americans who live there. Most of the Aleutian Islands have volcanic origins and are home to an abundance of wildlife. The islands of Hawaii are also located in the North American continent. Hawaii, though, is located approximately 2,000 miles from the U.S. mainland. The Hawaiian Islands are comprised of 8 main islands and 100 smaller islands. Initially, these islands were strategic refueling stations for U.S. trading ships traveling to China and Japan. However, the United States eventually annexed Hawaii and made it the 50th state of the United States of America. Next up is Greenland. Greenland is the world's largest island that is not classified as a continent, and physically it's located east of Canada, and it's pretty large actually. Most of Greenland's population is comprised of a native Inuit people. There are many islands in Canada. Specifically, we're going to highlight Baffin Island and the island of Newfoundland, just right here. Baffin Island was discovered in 1616, and not many people live here because of its Arctic climate. Newfoundland was originally found by the Vikings, but later Europeans rediscovered this newfound land, claiming it for the first colony of Great Britain. That about wraps it up, folks. I hope you learned a little something new about the continent that we all live on, and I hope you have a wonderful day.